It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
With Ease US makes studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ulike.com. U-Like.
It is the Pete Sousa Show, and we are live here from the Alico building in Central Texas. And boy, I was telling Scotty, if you don't have a show that you could do for 5 hours today, you got a problem I can't solve. We are so rich with content and news to cover and react to in the sports world all over it. And that's what we're going to do today. We're also going to infuse it with some intel and some educated opinions. Some of those will be coming from Steve Lappas, college basketball coach, CBS basketball analyst. He is going to join us on the day that basketball was invented in 1891. That's when it happened, December 1st, 1891. So we'll get with Lappas in about 25 minutes. Talk to him just for a little bit because obviously Steve is a busy guy, but college football is sort of ruling the day along with the NFL. Just so much happening around the college football globe. And I guess we will start with Lane Kiffin and the news yesterday. We had talked about this for a long time here. Such a compelling story and such an interesting story. And I do want to remind everyone that Lane Kiffin is not an axe murderer, right? Like, it was funny. There was a guy who played tight end for him who is, I can't even say the guy's name, but he's been like an undrafted free agent in the NFL. This guy, his wife, posted like a reel on Instagram yesterday that came across my feed. And it basically was like Lane Kiffin. It was her message, like thanking Lane Kiffin for everything she'd done while he was at Oxford, you know, like, and the videos of like Lane playing with this family's son on the football field, and like, you know, Lane interacting with his own kids. And it's a reminder, like, yeah, he is a good dad, right? And he's a good man. And like, you know, he's a football coach, right? And football coaches are not necessarily running like the mental board of health. And this is a reminder of that, right? He's a human being. We talk about it on this show a lot, like suffering from the human condition. The problem with this whole situation is Lane Kiffin. I think like that is something that I don't want to stray from or act like that's not the reality of it, right? Like, Lane Kiffin could have stayed at Ole Miss. Like, he could have said, you know what, that job interests me. If you guys are so interested in Lane Kiffin as a head coach, you're going to have to wait until I'm done this run here at Ole Miss. And, you know, that the calendar, whatever, it didn't create a situation where that was conducive. Like, I want to talk a little bit about, you know, again, my reaction to this. You know, if he stays at Ole Miss, he makes $10 million a year, and he has a realistic opportunity of winning the national championship this year. He goes to LSU. He's going to make over $10 million a year and has the potential of having a team that can win the national championship. And I also understand Nick Saban said something real interesting, and I think this has a lot to do with his decision, truly. And we're seeing coaches now get out of college football and college basketball because of the cycle and the work in the transfer portal, right? There are a couple schools that are exempt from this. If you watch Texas A&M on Friday night, you know, one of the things that jumped out at me, and I've known this, but it was confirmation. Most of those guys that are on those teams have started their career with those teams. Like, when you have a real, like, for lack of a better term, blue blood program that you are running, right? Like, yeah, of course you have to go out there and battle for 5-star, 4-star recruits, but they're attracted to you just as much as you're attracted to them. In a lot of scenarios, like, they want to be a part of what you have going at your school because of the history of Ohio State, the history of playing at Texas, the history of playing at LSU, the national championships. By the way, I do have a little bone to pick, a little bit of a bone to pick with people that talk about, like, Ed Ogeron just opened the door and fell ass backwards into a national championship. The guy, you know, was a part of that program and ran the program, and they won a national championship. I don't like talking about LSU and the football program itself like they're just handing out national championships. Those coaches that won titles there kicked ass and earned those national championships. Like, I don't like that. Like, oh, everybody this side of Ed Ogeron has won a title there. Dude, it's not that simple, right? Like, he won a national title there, as did Nick Saban. You know, list goes on. So, everybody this side of Brian Kelly. I apologize. So, what is going on out there? You hear that whistle? Is that a whistle? I'm going to do my best Mike Elko. You guys want to keep it down out there so we can run a professional show? Thank you. You like that? That's pretty good. That was pretty good, right? Somebody's like whistling in the hallway. I hope I freak somebody out. It's about time we do that. We're too nice around here. So the more I dig into this Lane Kiffin thing, and this is what I mentioned, the Nick Saban comment, you know, Saban and a lot of these guys, I don't think they were doing his dirty work per se, but, you know, they're kind of connected, right? I mean, when Lane Kiffin tells you he's going to talk to Nick Saban and Pete Carroll, Because Pete Carroll is kind of an extension of his father all the time that Monty Kiffin coached for Pete Carroll, and all the time that they coached together. So there's a real strong relationship there. Obviously, we know what Nick Saban is in his life. But Saban said, look, if he goes to LSU, he will not have to fight and grind and claw in the transfer portal every single year. He will not have to do that. It alleviates a huge chunk of what if, is this guy going to stay? Is this guy going to flip? Where is he going to go? Because there are other programs that are more influential and have more power and don't have to do the gritty work that we have to do here at Ole Miss. There is a freedom from some of that responsibility and drama and headache at LSU, right? As opposed to being at Ole Miss and grinding it out in the transfer portal every single year. The next question. So that is actually a really understandable reason as to why he would want to leave Ole Miss eventually. Now, the next question is, should Ole Miss have let him stay and coach in the college football playoff? I've done a lot of thinking on this, and I think they should have, okay? And I know that sounds so dumb. And I know for me, as Scotty will attest, I'm way better of being a prisoner of the moment than I am of seeing the whole field, right? Especially with sports. I just get excited. I get emotional. But if we want to see the whole field on this one, okay, history tells you that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Ole Miss. Like, literally. Like, if you were born in 1950, okay, and now you're 75 years old, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you, for your team to win a national championship at Ole Miss. I think they had really unbelievable success or a lot of success in 1960, okay? But you get what I'm saying. This is a once-in-a-lifetime. Now, if you're Keith Carter, the athletic director there, by the way, I love when these guys, like a Keith Carter, his name's been in the news so much with this Lane Kiffin thing. So you kind of flex when you say Keith Carter. It's kind of like if you watch the 365 guys, and anytime that Paul Catalina can say Tony Petiti, he loves to just say Tony Petiti. Like that means he's really dialed in with college sports. So everybody's loving it. Keith Carter. I know the AD at Ole Miss. Keith Carter. Like, look, man, all things being equal, I wasn't talking much about Keith Carter before this situation came up. If you told me Keith Carter, I would have thought Kevin Carter, the old defensive end that went to Florida and played for the Rams. But Keith Carter is the AD at Ole Miss, okay? And I understand his job is to protect the integrity of that program and that athletic department, and to allow someone like Lane Kiffin to continue to coach at your university where he can maybe try to poach more players to have them come with him, maybe poach more coaches to come with him. Look, man, we're living in a world where I don't think that makes any difference. I really don't. Now, I'm sure there is an argument that's a very good one that will be opposed to my point. And I understand why they didn't take the risk of having him stay. I mean, it's sort of career suicide for this athletic director, Keith Carter, if he does say, hey, no problem. Stick around. You got carte blanche. Like, if you don't win the national championship and then Lane Kiffin leaves and maybe there's one more assistant coach or one more player that he is able to convince and gather to come with him over the course of this playoff situation, then I can see how, there's egg on your face. But I truly believe risk reward. If Ole Miss wants a national championship, the guy's not going to take the trophy with him, right? But if Ole Miss wants a national championship, this is your best shot right here. This is your best shot. Now, again, we can go back to Bo Schembechler. When I was a kid, I won a Michigan man coaching a Michigan team when Bill Frieder took the head coaching job at Arizona State, and Schembechler said, hey, he's not going to coach our team in the NCAA tournament. And then Steve Fisher takes Michigan to a national championship. Pretty awesome. Will that happen this year? I don't know. We got a new head coach, Keith Golding, or I think his name's Keith. Maybe it's Kevin, or maybe it's another first name. But he's an outstanding defensive coordinator, and he has been promoted to head coach. And you got to give major props for Ole Miss as far as that is concerned, because they executed something the folks down the road here at Baylor can't even figure out, right? Like just, hey, we got a guy who's going to leave or we want to leave, and then we're going to name a new head coach. It didn't seem so difficult, did it? I know there's extenuating circumstances at Baylor right now, but you get my idea. So I would have let him stay. I understand why they didn't, but I would have let him stay. And I think it would have been a lot of fun. Now, there's also, I'll give one more like living, breathing argument to this. Paul Feinbaum did say that when Kiffin was alleviated of his offensive coordinator duties, when he'd taken the FIU job or FAU, Nick Saban, after he saw the effort that Kiffin put forth in the semifinal game against Washington, he was like, yeah, this isn't going to work. And then Saban leaves. And then, oh, by the way, Alabama loses the national championship to Clemson. And that was a situation where quite possibly if Kiffin had stayed, they maybe would have won. So even if he is only 80% in, you probably have a better chance than you do going forward. So that's another way you can look at it. I also have a personal thread that I always like to involve here when it comes to Lane Kiffin because of, once that Ryan McGee documentary came out, The Many Lives of Lane Kiffin, which was excellent in September. And this is another life of Lane Kiffin we're seeing right now. It was made very clear that Lane Kiffin is sober and he's living a whole different lifestyle. Like I so appreciated him opening that documentary with the idea that hot yoga in the morning was a non-negotiable for him. It was something that really got him centered, got him in the place he needed to be to deal with all the things he needed to deal with as a head football coach and as a person with responsibilities. And, as I mentioned, it was also detailed that he has been free of alcohol for years now, I think 3-4 years, and maybe 5. But I also know that if you are someone who drinks to the point where it's a real issue for you, you take that thing from your life. Okay. I'm sober now, over a decade, 14 years. Right. So you remove that from your life and there's a void. And the void is at first really good. I'm speaking just on my experience because you're free of all that trash in your head and just chemically it's all gone. But ultimately, like you're still left with yourself. And as we're taught in a 12-step program that I use, right? I'm not breaking any news here, AA, right? I don't care how you get sober, by the way. Just get that crap out of your life and do what you need to do to be free of it if you have a problem with it. Well, Lane Kiffin has gotten rid of it, but I'm starting to see some of the things like that that I was always told and that I have experienced along my road to recovery, which is it's a daily reprieve that you're free from this addiction, right? Because ultimately, like I said, the problem is you. Like a lot of times I'm walking around this Thanksgiving with whatever's going on in my head or my mind or the circumstances around me. And as you can imagine, there was some drama, right? Bless them, change me, right? Like that's a tenet of this program that I've picked up. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm in complete judgment of people that don't carry the same message or think the way I do. But I stopped drinking alcohol. It was really a major part of my life. When I stopped, I had to find something else that fulfilled me. And really, it was a connection with the higher power. It was sharing my story with other people who were in the same boat as myself, being vulnerable with these people, and really sort of trying to understand that although I always go back to that song by the Locks with Lil' Kim and DMX, like money, power, respect, right? And I'm not saying that's what Lane Kiffin is chasing, but a lot of times we all chase that. But that's an empty feeling at the end of the day. Like you can chase and go here and there from this spot to this spot. Ultimately, you're left with yourself. Right now, what are you doing to change that, right? You being the problem, right? Because there was a reason why, whether it was genetic or mental or whatever, why you were taking in so much alcohol on a daily basis to the point where it became a problem. So I know in my experience, like I probably would have been surrounded, although, And now I'm making a real stretch because now I've got myself in Lane Kiffin's shoes, but just hang in there with me, all right? Suspend a little disbelief. I'm making a point here. Like, I would have called the Pete Carrolls and the Nick Sabans, right? But I also would have talked to the Clint Brooks, the Murphy Bartons, the Mike Sousas, the Scott Dillons. Those are guys who, by the way, are public in their recovery, but are guys who are sober today and understand the same program that I work. And a lot of times it's like, look, man, if you've got a moral compass, right, that, again, it's a daily reprieve. Like, there's crazy stuff that goes through my mind. There's crazy stuff that I do. I do all kinds of wrong stuff in my life. But I do have this guiding light, right, that is like recovery and whether you want to call it God or a group of drunks if God doesn't work for you. But there's a bunch of people, like a tribal thing, that sobriety is for me. That's not just me. It's staying out of myself and trying to do the next right thing. And when big situations come in my life, there are a lot of people who can share their truths and their experiences, right, with me as to what the next right move would be. And I can tell you one thing, making any situation all about me is not the next right thing. And Lane Kiffin did that, unfortunately. He allowed this to happen. And the reason I'm sharing some of this is because a month or two ago, or 3 months ago, when I watched that amazing documentary with Ryan McGee, I thought that maybe we would see a different version of Lane Kiffin. I really did, because we all knew something like this was going to happen because of the amazing job he does as a coach. And again, at the end of the day, we're really nitpicking here because Lane Kiffin is sober. He's obviously a great dad. He's super successful in his life. Like, this really, in the overall scheme of things, is a little thing, which is why we say in AA, like, we are not saints. Like, we stay sober. Again, it's a daily reprieve. We do the best we can. Lane Kiffin, like I started, is not an axe murderer. We're really in the phase of life where he's playing with house money, right? You stop drinking, you get all that crap out of your system, you start thinking a different way. You're in the kind of like the bonus round. At least I know that I am, because my bottom was really low. Lane's obviously nowhere near. But I think you get the idea. Like, there is a standard and a way and an integrity that you can work towards, and almost a playbook, right, that you can work off of that helps you avoid situations like this when you're in the middle of toxicity and drama. And what are you going to do? It is about, whether Lane Kiffin wants to acknowledge it or not, it's all about him. It's all about him. And that's fine. Like, that's the path that he's chosen. But if he wants to look in the mirror and wonder, wow, how the hell did this get this way again? It's because you were only thinking about yourself for the majority of the time. I'm sure you were thinking about your family. And I'm not even saying this is a wrong decision, but it's the execution and the way that the decision was made that I think some people are frustrated with. And I do think the slight void that maybe Coach Kiffin has, where he's not exactly fulfilled, right, the way that he should be, he's clearly still chasing. He clearly is still chasing. Now, we started at the beginning of this where we gave a blueprint, right, and reasons as to why, when I said what Nick Saban shared on game day, there are certainly reasons why this is a better opportunity for him, right? But there's a different way he could have gone all about this. I'll leave you with two more things because we got Steve Lappas coming up here in 5 minutes. Dan Wetzel, this was in his article on ESPN when he talked about Lane Kiffin leaving. And this is it, man. We got to remember this stuff. The quote was, and this is his words, it's not like he quoted somebody else, "A great coach doesn't have to be loyal or thoughtful or an example of how life should be lived." Like, we got to remember that. These dudes are just bumbling around life just like we are. You know, they're making mistakes just like we are. There's just a hell of a lot more attention on what they're doing because what they're doing is really interesting and people really care. And the last thing I'll say, and this is good news because at the end of the day, I love Lane Kiffin. I love all this. This is a lot of fun. It's a bummer that maybe it sucked a lot out of Saturdays, college football all day. And, you know, maybe there's a little bit too much of this, but like Lane Kiffin's only 50 years old, which means we probably have like another 25 years of this. I mean, that's amazing, right? Like, he's just getting started, even though it feels like he's been at it for a long time. And by the way, I think he's going to kick ass at LSU. All right, the Pete Sousa Show comes back with Steve Lappas. We will talk to Coach Lappas, obviously CBS Sports college basketball analyst, and one of the best if not the best in the business. Somebody who I've been a huge fan of since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. Of course, I'll bring that up with him. But yeah, the Pete Sousa Show will be back after this. Oh, by the way, I didn't even mention Slovakics. Thank you for what you do. We'll be back after this.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble does bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
We are back on the Pete Sousa Show, and we are joined by legendary head basketball coach at Villanova University, also at UMass, and one of my all-time favorites, CBS Sports basketball analyst, Steve Lappas. Coach Lappas, thanks so much for taking the time.
Pete, it's great to be on with you.
It's great to be on with you, too. You know, I got a history with you. Obviously, you know, my mom, Terry Sousa, worked for Tedesito in the athletic department, and I got a chance to be around you guys when I was a kid and be at practices with Coach Mass. I specifically remember a memory, Coach. This is when you were a very young man, and I remember you doing a real kick-ass Barry Beckadam impression that had everybody laughing so hard. And I was like, wow, who is this young, charismatic coach from New York City who is just like captivates everybody in a room? And I come to find out, you know, that is the great Steve Lappas, who I'm talking to right now. So, you know, you've been in my life for a while. I appreciate you taking the time.
Well, yes, we've been family friends for a long, long time. There's no doubt, Pete.
Yeah, I want to talk to you first. I mean, obviously, this is the birth of basketball, right? 134 years ago, December 1st, Dr. James Naismith creates the game that we love today. But I do want to start with a little bit of football with you, just to get your reaction. Nothing too deep, but I know this. I know that in 1995, when I was a Villanova super fan, after you won the Big East Conference Championship tournament, and we were getting ready to go to the NCAA tournament, ranked in like the top 10, and you said, "Hey guys, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna take the job at Kansas." I think I would have stroked out at the age of like 17. So when you look at this calendar today and everything that happened with Lane Kiffin, how does someone like you, with your experience in college sports, react to it?
You know, on the one hand, it's really disappointing. On the other hand, because of the calendar and with this portal stuff, and let's face it, you know, these kids got recruited to go to Ole Miss, but it's not like the old days where they were there 4 years and bula, this is my school. Let's face it, these kids are all getting paid. These kids, so I think everything has changed now where it is really, not that it wasn't always a business, but it really is a business. Now, do I feel bad for the team? No question. They worked all this time, and now they're going to be in the big playoff for the national championship, and now they're not going to have their coach. But you know what? It's a crazy business. Obviously, he views the LSU job as a job of a lifetime where you can win multiple national championships. So it's funny. I had an argument with my family the other day. They said, well, he should stay at Ole Miss. He could do it there. I said, yeah, you know, let's face it. Before 1999, nobody thought UConn was a plum job. But 5 championships later, it's definitely been viewed differently in basketball world. Maybe that could happen for Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. Maybe not. Chances, much better at LSU. So I kind of go both ways on this, P. I'm not trying to, like, hedge on the fence, but I'm really on the fence. In one way, it's terrible what he did. In the other way, it's kind of understandable.
Yeah, no, it's a thoughtful reaction, right, from somebody that's been in the business for a while. One more on this, and it kind of brings you back, it hits the rewind button. You had taken the job at Manhattan at this time, so you left Villanova, but the big story was heading into the, I think it was 89 tournament, or maybe it was 90. I think it was 89, when Steve Fisher is anointed or appointed head coach of Michigan because Bill Frieder took the Arizona State job. And, you know, Bo Schembechler, the famous press conference, I want a Michigan man coaching a Michigan team. As a young coach back then, what was your reaction to that? Because that was back in a different climate, and it was clear, like, wow, Schembechler means business, and then Michigan wins the title. But what were your thoughts about a situation like that back then when you had a ton of skin in the game?
You know, my initial reaction was, why would Bill Frieder not wait like a couple weeks? You know what I mean? And he was going to Arizona State.
Yeah.
It's not like he was leaving Ole Miss for LSU. He's leaving Michigan, which is a prime job, to go to Arizona State. Why not wait? That's number one. I didn't blame Bo Schembechler for doing what he did, because even in this case, if you're the athletic director at Ole Miss, you can't let him coach in that game. First of all, there's a good chance he's going to be trying to take some of your guys to LSU. You know, the whole portal, it's like, one thing about this, it's not like changing accounting firms. You know what I mean? Once you switch your jersey, you are completely out. And really, he needed to be complete. But I'll tell you one funny story about Bill Frieder. So that was one of the first Final Fours, Pete, that I attended. So I'm on the bus going to the semifinals. You know, the NABC had a bus to take the coaches to the thing. who's sitting across from me? Bill Frater is sitting on the same bus with me. I'm like, this guy's supposed to be coaching today. And I didn't know him at that point. He's supposed to be coaching today. He's sitting on the same bus with Steve Lappas, the head coach of Manhattan College. I was like, this is unbelievable.
No small talk there, huh?
No.
I want to take you
what? The thing is, what? He couldn't take a taxi or he couldn't take a limousine? He's got to be on the NABC bus.
Well, let's jump now into the college basketball season. And we've already seen, it's funny. There's what a rich time to be a sports fan. I mean, it was almost had your head on a swivel. All the great college basketball and college football and NFL football over the holiday weekend. What has jumped out to you early in this college basketball season that has been unique, just as a storyline or something that you have been surprised by so far? Because you don't have to look hard to find dudes playing elite basketball already.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a unique storyline in that this freshman class is so incredibly deep. It's unbelievable. I mean, we have so many great freshmen this year. I know we talk a lot about Cameron Boozer and we talk a lot of DeBonta, but I'll tell you what that kid Fleming did for Houston the other day in that game, I mean, I'm like, the freshmen in this country right now are off the charts. That's one of the things. And then I'd say from a team standpoint, I'm going to say how Michigan has played. Michigan has been basically destroying everybody. I mean, they're huge with the kid Lendenberg, the kid Mara, who transferred from UCLA. They have all the pieces, and I think they have been ultra impressive. Purdue's been kind of what we thought they'd be. They're great. And they have obviously a national championship level team. But I'm going to say the one surprise to me is how good Michigan has been early on.
When you look at Florida and the job and the task that lays ahead, just how hard is it from a head coaching perspective, experiences you've had and been around? You were with, Coach Mass after he wins a title, and then, you guys try to run it back again. I mean, obviously that was the Big East where the deck was stacked against you, really. But what is it like when you try to repeat after, reaching the summit and winning the title?
Well, I mean, obviously it's really hard. And in those days, like when we won in '85, we had three great seniors that were graduating. So to repeat those now, UConn was able to repeat because they had a ton of guys back from that first championship. And Florida, in their case, they got a front court back, but they lost to user guy Walter Clayton, who may have been the best closer in college basketball last year. And you got to really replace some serious things. And get Denzel Aberdeen is not there either. So this is a team that's had to replace, a ton of guys. Elijah Martin, how good was he? So they've had to replace a ton of guys very hard. They're not in position to repeat. Are they in position to be really good? Yeah, they are. But to be in position to repeat, you need a ton back, and they don't really have a ton back, even though they have the front court.
What was it like for you? You were, like I mentioned, an assistant really in the thick of things, right? The Big East, and when it was thriving. And then you come back as a head coach when it's out of this world once again, with the Ray Allens and the Iversons and the Kittles. I compare, you look now at college football, like the SEC kind of reminds me of how the Big East used to be. And a lot of times we look at these conferences and we say, man, do you get beat up so bad that when you get to March as a member of back then the Big East and maybe now SEC in football, I think the Big 12 in college basketball is like that a lot. You get to that March situation and it's like, man, are we worn down or are we peaking? Can you shed a little light on that? Like, what is it like to go through those wars all during the regular season and then the conference tournament? And now you're playing in a playoff situation. For you, it was March Madness. Does that fatigue a team a little bit when you're going through a gauntlet like that all year long, or does it make you better and more ready for those situations?
My opinion is it makes you better. Now, football is a whole different animal because, playing against those level teams, you have a physical factor in terms of getting hurt, playing against that level of big guys that are fat. So I don't know physically, but in basketball, I think playing that kind of schedule really helps you because, I used to say, hey, listen, we play in Syracuse tonight, and then we got to go to Providence the next day. Then we got Georgetown, then we got UConn. You're used to being in the gauntlet every game. So nobody intimidates you. when you play in a league like that where every game is a tough game. I think now a lot of people look at the Big Ten that they haven't won it since 2001, when Michigan State won it, that they beat each other. They beat themselves up every night. Well, we've seen teams from the Big 12 win the championship. We've obviously seen from the Big East win the championship. So I don't know if there's a lot of truth to that, but I think it helps you to play in that kind of a league night in and night out.
Now, you mentioned some of the freshmen. Is there a player this year that has been playing college basketball that you really had your eyes on last year and noticed, like, this guy could be a household name? Is there somebody this year that has been playing college ball, but you expect maybe they're in a new situation or with a new coach or a new geographical location at a different school that you think could be a breakout star this year?
Well, I think the kid Fears at Michigan State has made a huge step, and they've been one of the surprises early on. You look at the schedule Michigan State has played and them being undefeated so far, and Fears has made a tremendous leap from his freshman to his sophomore year, which is what you would expect. So I think that's one guy who has really come on the scene really hard in his second year there. And then, I was very impressed, not in the same way the other day with watching UConn. The freshman that they have, Demery, who was hurt all year, now he's back. The kid Mullins back, McDonald's All-American. They have the kind of depth that they had a couple of years ago to win the championship. So I look at those kind of guys like Fears. I think he's the one guy that has made a huge step from last year to this year.
Hey, what's it like when you get like a blue chip 5-star freshman and there's expectation that comes with that? Like whether you're Kevin Young with AJ DeBonsa, and the list goes on, right? How do you manage that situation when you have a superstar freshman on your roster and there's just so much expectation that comes with that?
I mean, I was in that situation having Tim Thomas,
Yes, that's right. Patterson, New Jersey.
And Tim was a great kid, but he was one of the best incoming freshmen in college basketball. And we had a veteran team. We had Jason Lawson and Chuck Cornegay and Alvin Williams were seniors. So balancing that was always something that I had to think about. Like, the reporters come in, they wanted to talk to Tim Thomas. Well, these guys accomplished a lot of things too. So, you always were concerned about that balance. Now, let me tell you this. They were all great kids. They all got along great, no doubt about it. But the expectations and managing so everybody's ego is okay, it could definitely be a tough thing when you bring in a high-level freshman with a successful senior class.
When you look at, we're in Big 12 country. I'm actually I'm calling Seton Hall and Kansas State this weekend with your buddy Tim Welsh. Any message I can pass? Any message I can pass along to him?
Yeah, tell him I said hello, and tell him I used to hate coming to Providence to play him.
You got it. When you look at the Big 12 though as a conference this year, anything jump out at you that has you paying attention even before the season starts? Like I always look at Kelvin Sampson, and it seems like, Coach, he has taught the rest of the Big 12 conference, or at least has raised the bar, and maybe all of college basketball on defense, right? Like I guess let me ask you about that. How important is a guy like Kelvin Sampson and Houston and the defense that is being played in that conference becoming almost contagious around the country? It's been pretty cool to watch.
Well, let's face it, what he built there really is incredible because I did a game in Houston probably 10 years ago, and they were playing like, I don't know, Marshall or somebody like that. I'm telling you, if there were 50 people in the building, it was a lot. I came back to CBS and said, guys, we got to be careful about doing games here. It doesn't look good. Yeah. And now, look what he's done. I'm telling you, that's how bad it was. And what he's done is one of the incredible rebuild. Now, let's face it, Houston had a tradition. They had great teams with Guy Lewis, so they've had a great tradition. But the rebirth that he led was really incredible. He's a tremendous coach. And the way they defend, like if you ask me, who's the hardest playing team in the country? I think Houston is the hardest playing team in the country day in, day out. And there is no better compliment you can give a coach than his team plays harder than everybody else. There's some other ones. Rick Barnes' team plays really hard, and Bill Self's teams historically play really. There's a bunch of them. Don't get me Danny Hurley, but I think you think about play for play in and play out. I'm picking Houston in that regard.
Last question for you, Coach. This has been awesome. You coached Rod Strickland in high school. Is that right?
I did.
So you coached Strickland, and you had you just were a mainline dialed into that New York City recruiting area, right? And you were an amazing coach, obviously, but an amazing recruiter too. Did those guys, the Steve Lappases in 1984 that could go into New York City and get the best players, do those guys even exist anymore? Or is it all agents and AAU guys? Shed some light on how much it's changed, or if there is still some of that familiar recruiting stuff going on that you remember.
That's a great question, Pete. It's really evolved over the years. When I first became a college assistant for Coach Massimino, you were recruiting guys from their high school coaches. You were recruiting them going to camp, the 5-star camp in the summertime to see them. And then the thing changed completely, where it became the AAU circuit, forget camps, and it became the AAU coach. And yeah, you kept the high school coach in the loop, but he didn't spend nearly as much time with these kids as these AAU guys do. So now it's about agents and it's about, NIL. So I've seen it kind of go through a transition 3 different times. And, the one we're in now, let's face it, I don't want to say that it doesn't help a guy if he's a great recruiter, but if you're a great recruiter and you have the highest price for a kid, you got a good chance. But I think the price comes first.
Hey, Coach Lappas, I can't thank you enough for taking the time, man. Have a great season. We look forward to maybe running you down here later in January or February, but thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Pete. Make sure you say hi to the family for me.
You got it. I will. Coach Steve Lappas.
All right, Pete.
All right, there he goes. One of the best in the business. Really, truly, it was so cool for me to be around him as a coach when he was thriving, but also to see him have this second act and literally be probably, for my money, the best analyst in college basketball on CBS. Obviously I work for ESPN, but what they do at CBS, and that's always just kind of been, the Final Four and the road to the Final Four. Legendary guy, Steve Lappas. All right, we'll take a break, come back, talk about the college football playoff potential there, and also don't forget we're presented by Slovacics. We'll be right back.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
Experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
BosleyMD.com.
Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internix. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at FullwellFertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at gevi.com to discover more.
It's the Pete Sousa Show.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit OpenGOAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
Stability.
Thank you so much to Steve Lappas. That was an absolute blast. And you like how I almost committed him to coming on again. Chris Visser. Making that happen, and hopefully we can make it happen again. He does a great job on Mad Dog Russo, right? He goes on with Chris Russo now, and it's pretty awesome. And you know who else would go on Chris Russo before Coach Lappas is my man Tim Welsh, who I'll be calling the game with, former Providence coach, Kansas State and Seton Hall. That's Saturday while the Big 12 championship is going on. So we're going to be revving up for the Big 12 championship this week. And how about college football? We got Gary Danielson tomorrow. CBS Sports, Gary Danielson, right? One of the best athletes in the history, I should say, although he was a good quarterback for the Lions and at Purdue. One of the best analysts in college football, maybe of all time, is going to join us. Obviously, a storied career, calling games with Vern Lundquist, and now with, obviously, it's just a great, it's awesome to have Gary Danielson still be piped into your homes. Present day. So I'm pumped up to talk to him tomorrow. He's stepping down at the end of this year. And it's just going to be a real treat to have him. He has not done many interviews over the course of his career. And this season, he does a spot with Chris Russo, actually, on Mad Dog Sports Radio, but he does not do interviews like this. We're going to get him for a little while, and we are going to really enjoy the time with Gary Danielson. That's coming up tomorrow. I'm very grateful for that. And kudos to our man Visser for making that happen. One more thing. Scotty and I, the great Scotty Swingler, is waiting in the wings. I'm sure he's going to really be giving me a hard time because we are going to get into college football playoff possibilities and predictions. But before that, I do want to turn back the clock and go back to Lane Kiffin a little bit. And, yesterday, again, we were living in this moment where this thing is happening that people view as maybe divisive, or Lane Kiffin is leaving Ole Miss to go to LSU. But let's not act like this has not happened before, and let's not act like this is a new thing in college or pro sports. You can go back to I think it was Ole Miss, guys, when Tommy Tuberville said that if he was going to leave Ole Miss, it was going to be in a pine box. And like a week later, he was leaving Ole Miss, I think in a car or an airplane, going to Auburn. I remember the quote. He's like, the Mississippi Gamblers, now the Auburn Gambler, something like that. But this stuff's been happening since the beginning of time, even at Ole Miss. But some of the more dramatic coaches, I called up a list, coaches leaving situations. Nick Saban was a big one. Right. He said to the media in Miami, I am not going to take the job at Alabama. And he did. And he still points to that as a regret in his career. Bobby Petrino, Arkansas, Falcons. Then he leaves a letter in everybody's locker at the Atlanta Falcons to tell him he's leaving and going back to Arkansas. That was like really, really bad. Bill Parcells, basically, after the Patriots went to the Super Bowl, he was done, right? But he couldn't coach the Jets because of NFL rules, right? And eventually, the Jets got their man, but it came at the price of a year off and some draft picks. And also there's a couple other Larry Brown. Now Lane Kiffin would have to win more, but he is certainly this is very Larry Brown-esque of Lane Kiffin. I can remember two occasions. One, if you remember when Larry was in the Pistons had won the NBA Finals in 2004. And then they're back in the finals again against the Spurs in 2005. And the New York Knicks job is available. And Larry is a New Yorker, and boy, he is just losing his mind trying to get to New York, but trying to play it down and play it cool. And he's not necessarily shutting down all the questions about it. And this is while the Pistons are in the finals. And he's talking about going to coach the Knicks, who sucked that year, right? This is not Lane Kiffin did not invent this, and we want to go to players. Well, we all remember the decision with LeBron. I mean, this happens in sports. It sucks for the fan bases, but again, it doesn't necessarily mean, and I don't think people think that, but I just want to imply and remind people that Lane Kiffin is not an axe murderer. He is a coach that is being selfish, and people don't like it. What are you going to do? All right, Scotty Swingler, everybody loves him. And we bring him up right now. Scotty,
Pete,
the college football playoff, right? We're going to get a new set of rankings that are going to come out tomorrow night.
Yes.
Before the final rankings. I'm curious. I want to ask you this question, okay? Who will be the group of 5 team? I'm going to start at the bottom. What team right now is the group of 5 pick for you to make it into the college
for
football
me
playoff?
or for the rankings tomorrow? Because those are different answers, Pete.
Well, who do you think will make it in based on all the data you have access to right now?
Tomorrow, Tulane will be the highest ranked group of 5 team.
Okay.
But after they lose to North Texas in the AAC championship game, it will be North Texas.
So you believe North Texas will go to the college football playoff?
I do.
How awesome will that be?
It would be incredible. Great start to a little Oklahoma State tenure for Mr. Eric Morris, who gets to coach out unlike Lane Kiffin, gets to coach out the run here at North Texas.
And that's pretty interesting, by the way, when you look at those two different situations.
I think that's tremendous, by the way, for Eric Morris.
Great job by North Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Do you want to just throw up what you sent me? Is that cool?
Yeah, you already started to eviscerate me.
Well, I told you we'd discuss it. Okay, so I asked you this morning when you said we were going to discuss playoff, who are your locks? And you sent me this list. Pete's playoff locks. You sent me 11 teams, which this is a 12-team playoff. And I said, that's pretty bold to go ahead and pick 11 of the 12. But Pete, I just want you to look at this list and recognize this is actually mathematically impossible.
Oh, come on. All right, get into it.
It's very simple math. You have 3 conferences represented here, and you're 11. And the top 5 conference champions get auto bids.
So I'm leaving out the ACC.
You're leaving out 2 conference champions here.
The ACC and who else?
I want to propose this. I don't think any ACC teams are a lock. Because I
don't have them in. So there you go.
Okay, but you can't have these 11 and 2 more conference champions. Here's the scenario. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. If Duke wins this weekend and they are the ACC champ, they will not. It will be shocking if they are one of the 5 highest ranked conference champions.
No, so
the 5 highest ranked conference champions would be Ohio State or Indiana, Georgia or Alabama, Tech or BYU, North Texas or Tulane, and James Madison.
Whoa.
If Duke wins this weekend, those will be your 5 auto bids, and you will have 2 group of 5 teams get in, which means one of these 11 teams here, Pete, will not.
So, and again, I love how you're shedding more light on this for me and for everybody else. Are we living in a world now where we're going to go ahead and say it's how likely is it that the ACC doesn't get a team in?
If Virginia wins that game, I think it's easy to propel them from 16 or 15, wherever they end up this week, to 12 and put Virginia in.
Okay.
Virginia would, I think, because Virginia would then be.
I'm looking at the line for that game because I want to just
Virginia. If Virginia wins, they will be one of the 5 highest ranked conference champs, right? They're going to be ranked above Tulane.
They're only a 3.5 point favorite.
They're going to be ranked above Tulane or UNT. They're going to be ranked above James Madison. So the easy scenario for the ACC is here. I'm gonna pull your graphic down while we talk this out, but I want to show you mine in a second.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
The easiest scenario for the ACC is Virginia wins. They would get in as an auto bid, and then North Texas Tulane winner gets in as an auto bid, and that settles it. You're done. If Duke wins,
which I really hope happens.
If Duke, right, I want the chaos scenario. If Duke wins, there's 2 options. Either, actually, here, let me throw up your teams again because this will be helpful. So if Duke wins, UNT and JMU will be ranked higher than Duke. So knock one of these teams on your list out for those 2. That would get 12. Then the question becomes, does Miami squeeze in as a representative for the ACC with an at-large bid, in which case another one of these teams on this list would have to get knocked out? If it were me, Pete, I don't want a team that couldn't even make their conference championship game getting in for the worst conference, the worst Power 4 conference in football. That would be weird to me. But I understand why this might just heighten the intensity of the Miami versus Notre Dame conversation. When you have the same record, Notre Dame does not have a lot of quality wins, and they lost head-to-head to Miami. They would both be 10-2. They're both not playing this weekend.
Don't get me started on Notre Dame, dude.
Dude, they're the biggest frauds in this graphic, don't you think?
If you look at Notre Dame's schedule, I did this last week because I was like, it's almost like when you like dive back into your ex's like Instagram like posts. Like, it was not healthy for me to do this because I just don't like Notre Dame. But like I went through all their non-con wins, right? And the teams that they beat in Power 4, non-con teams, those teams barely cobbled together outside of Pittsburgh,
right?
Any conference victories, like
correct,
like a Purdue, for example, or I think you could use Stanford as an example.
Yeah,
like these teams that they beat that are part of Power 4 conferences suck.
Yeah,
and they lost the 2 big ones to Miami and A&M. I'm sorry, you lost the games,
right?
You lost them, and you could beat the brakes off Syracuse, but they have 1 conference win,
right? Yeah. No. Miami's resume, Notre Dame's resume amongst this group is weak. I also think, though,
that's, by the way, the only thing that Shahan says that kind of drives me, kind of makes me a little, it kind of breaks my brain a little, because Shahan is one of those analytics folks who will get away from the actual head-to-heads if there's at all space between, you know what I mean? Like,
well,
if the gap's wide enough, those guys love to go, okay,
listen,
forget the head-to-head.
I'm going to tell you the 3 teams on your list here that I think their resumes are very underwhelming. Oregon's resume is shockingly underwhelming. If you purely look at who they beat, they did not beat a lot. They did beat USC, but that is their best win this season, which is not saying much in my opinion. And Indiana dominated them start to finish in their matchup. Oklahoma's resume, Pete, is a weird one for me. That's a weird one. Yeah. And I struggle with the SEC bias.
Boy, did they escape against LSU?
They did.
They escaped.
They did.
LSU gave them that game.
They did. And I struggle with this SEC bias that gives us 5 teams here on your list. Let me show you my locks real quick, Pete.
Please.
And this is mathematically possible.
Dude, that's just...
So look, we agree on 8 of them. We agree on 8 of them.
I totally whiffed on that.
We agree on 8 of them. I think Ohio State, Indiana are in regardless of who wins that game, right? I think Alabama, Georgia are in regardless of who wins that game. I think Texas Tech is in win or lose on Saturday.
UNT is a 2.5 point favorite.
I think Ole Miss is in regardless. I think Oregon is in regardless. I think A&M is in regardless. They have good resumes, and they're not going to lose this weekend. I think UNT beats Tulane. That will be Tulane. It's going to be the winner of UNT Tulane. Yeah. I'm picking UNT.
I really hope it's UNT.
That winner gets in. So this leaves 3 spots that I'm going to say are question marks. And they will go to The question is, can BYU get in even if they lose? Is Notre Dame going to get in with the weakest resume of the field? I think the answer is yes. I struggle with that.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
And will it be an ACC team that sneaks in here, or will it be JMU? Will it be JMU? By the way, Bob Chesney, head coach at JMU, Alex Golish got hired this week.
Yeah.
John Sumrall got hired this week. Eric Morris got hired this week.
Penn State's sniffing around our boy Chesney.
They're also sniffing around Kalani Sitake.
I don't like that at all.
It's
Our boy Toll did something. I'm acting
the
like
highest
that's
odds
not
in Vegas right now.
I'm acting like that's
Sitake.
not even happening.
It's the highest odds in Las Vegas right now.
I really don't think he would ever do that.
So, well, we'll find out, right? But yeah, there's 3 spots left here on my board, and I say 1 goes to JMU or the ACC, 1 goes to BYU or another SEC team, let's say Oklahoma, and then 1 goes to Notre Dame. Is probably the scenario. And I think what stinks is BYU probably has one of the strongest resumes of those fighting to get in, and they're going to be punished for losing to a top 5 team twice.
Well, look, here's my theory on BYU. If you want to get in, right?
You got to win.
You got to win, or you got to make it damn close. You got to lose by like 2 points.
Yeah, because they got beat pretty badly.
And the spread I'm looking at it is 2 touchdowns. It's 13.5. So you can't afford to lose by. And I really believe that the fact that this is going to be, I mean, it's a conference championship, but in a controlled somewhat environment, right? You're indoors, and really the outdoors can only help BYU. But like the fan base will probably be split. This is a BYU. They're going to travel very well.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be a real 50-50 vibe in that building. And that's going to, I mean, Texas Tech rode a tidal wave of emotion. And really just expectation and joy into that beatdown.
Well,
yeah.
And let's be honest about where Texas Tech is at. And I think Joey McGuire is a great head coach who will coach against this. But Texas Tech's in a place where they got to be feeling themselves, Pete.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, they are a top 5 team.
Yeah.
They are a lock. If they lose this game, they are still going to get in with an at-large bid to the college football playoff. I think most people believe that. Jacob Rodriguez, I will be shocked if he's not invited to New York for the Heisman ceremony.
Yeah.
Texas Tech feels kind of untouchable right now, especially in the Big 12. They're also going to walk into this game going, we beat the brakes off them once, right? Whereas BYU is going to come in hungry, desperate. They know their only guarantee into this postseason is a win Saturday. They're going to be determined to prove something. I think there might be a mental edge there, even if it's just for half the first quarter, where Tech is like, woo! They feel like they've done something, and BYU is kind of more locked in of like, we've got one more big step to accomplish here today.
Yeah.
I don't know if that will be enough to give BYU a victory, but I wouldn't be surprised if like BYU jumps out to like a 10-0 lead, just because they're going to come in, I think, way more desperate. And, you put a cougar in a cage and make it desperate, and it can be pretty dangerous.
All right, that's great. I love your wording there. Let's get the latest on the Sitake situation. Because I saw last night Drake Toll was on a real roll on this, and we love Drake Toll. So here's my take on it, because you mentioned, you're right, he is at the top of the board, right? I mean, why in the world are you going to put a guy who is so tailor-made, like part of the reason that Kalani Sitake and BYU experience success together is because they were made for one another. It truly is like, and it goes back to the conversations I've had, whether it's been Spencer Linton from BYU TV, whether it's been Greg Wrubell, who is BYU's play-by-play guy for football and basketball, whether it's been Shahan on this show. The list goes on, man. David Pollack. Everybody talks about that we have talked to on this show, how perfect Kalani is for BYU. And I don't think he's perfect at all for Penn State. I don't. I mean, that's kind of my neck of the woods. I know the vibe up there. Penn State is more, and I know they wouldn't hire this guy, but Penn State is more like Brian Kelly than Kalani Sitake. And it remains to be seen what Penn State will do. it is a little concerning with all the head coaching hires that we saw at big universities over the course of the weekend that the Penn State domino has yet to fall. That makes you think there could be something cooking there. I find it damn near impossible to believe that he could leave BYU. And truth be told, as you know, this hit me last night. We have an Inside the 12. It's an hour show we're doing on Wednesday, and it goes on ESPN. It's a big show. And you know, we're gonna have Shahan Jayaraja, college football insider from CBS and Heisman Trophy voter. He's gonna be with us on that show the whole time. It's gonna be me, Taylor McCarg, and Shahan. And like, it's probably not the place to ask him. I mean, we're going to interview Kalani Sitake. For me to ask Kalani Sitake about Penn State in that environment on a show that's the Big 12 is behind, I would have to have balls the size of church bells. In fact, I think I'd have to be insane. But it's certainly something we will kick around on a production call. But like, I almost am moved to ask the question just so he can say no, because I would imagine that would be his answer. I mean, this is a guy who, it just doesn't make any sense, man. What's your thoughts on this, Scotty? Like the fit for Kalani Sitake at Penn State. I think the reason that like the Bear Bachmeier thing has worked, the reason last year worked with Jake Retzlaff, I think the reason that nobody thinks about BYU and they're so good is because Kalani Sitake was born to coach there. And I think that's why they're having the success they're having. Is that something he could package and bring to Happy Valley?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I need to clarify. I know less about this than you or any of the guys you just named. So I feel like this is one of the topics you brought me in for that my knowledge is fairly limited. Yeah. But yeah, dude, I think fit really matters, Pete. But I think I just believe when you're a great college football coach, you can probably do it anywhere. Yeah. Urban Meyer replicated his success from Utah to Florida to Ohio State. Obviously, Nick Saban won a natty at LSU and replicated the success at Alabama. And I know I just named like the two best college football coaches of the last 25 years. But I just think when you're great, you can be great anywhere. And I think I've become convinced this season more than ever that Kalani Sitake is great. Like, he is a great head coach. And I definitely think whereas James Franklin was often criticized for not winning the big one with a lot of talent, what we've seen from Kalani Sitake this season and in other seasons, but really this season, is his ability to win close games, often with perceived less talent. And I'd be interested to see how he could, because at Penn State, let's be honest, like, you get up there and get to work, you can get some top 5 recruiting classes. Oh, yeah, you can get a top 5 portal class without blinking. Like that's a school that attracts the very best of college football. And so what could Kalani do if he had that level of talent? I think it'd be special, man. I think he'd be in the playoff. I think he could do a lot. And, you know, I hear what you're saying about the fit and the culture and the vibes and there's a faith thing there, right? But for the same reason, I'll call her out because she's in the room. Lizzie asked me last night, like, I don't understand why Lane Kiffin would go to LSU and he could go win a national championship this year with Ole Miss. And you could stay at Ole Miss for 30 years and they're never going to run you out of town. And it's like, that's true. That's true. I'll tell you exactly why he left. Because he's a dad and they're offering him way more money. And I didn't understand that until I was a dad. And if someone offered me millions of dollars more to go coach somewhere else, I would do it too. And it wouldn't be about me. It'd be about my kids. And so, you know, I don't know where Kalani's values are, where his head is at. I think he's a great man. But if Penn State comes in and can pay you $4 million more a year to go be at Penn State, sometimes, like, he could look at his BYU career at this point and say, I've done a lot of great things here at BYU.
Yeah.
And now I can go pursue the top of the mountain over there. Like, that wouldn't surprise me. It won't surprise me if he stays either. Yeah. To be clear, it won't surprise me if he stays. But it makes sense. Like, I think it makes sense.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and come back. We just may have more on this topic. The Pete Sousa Show. Let me say that again. The Pete Sousa Show is presented by Slovacics. Don't forget about Socorro Family Ford, Daniel Sark Injury Lawyers, First National Bank of Central Texas, and Crawford Austin Properties either. We'll be right back after that.
With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Designed to elevate the off-road experience, enabling adventurers to conquer any terrain. For 50 years, you've trusted us on your toughest recoveries, to your most breathtaking destinations, and in countless unforgettable memories.
We offer fast shipping, exceptional customer support, and furniture solutions that stand up to high-traffic environment. Elevate your space with BizChair's vast selection of stylish, reliable, and cost-effective furniture. Visit us today at bizchair.com to transform your business.
But boy, it looked effortless.
Man, watch this.
Layups, floaters, threes. He was like an unsolvable equation.
I was born like this.
His resilience, his strength, his belief, adversity never stood a chance.
Know your power.
VivoSun's mission is to empower growers with stylish and effective products, making indoor growing accessible and enjoyable for everyone. Visit vivosun.com today and get started making growing plants and vegetables easy and automatic.
whypersonalloans.com. Request a loan anytime. Our partners can offer loans up to $35,000 with varying rates and terms. Review your loan offer with no obligation and decide what works for you. Visit personalloans.com today.
So all you have to do is tap your Popple to the back of someone's phone, like that, and they instantly get your social media and contact info right on the screen. They don't need an app or a Popple to receive your info. So get your Popple today and start impressing everyone you meet. Make it pop.
Is your Mac running slow? Mac Booster 8 is your all-in-one solution to clean up 20 types of junk files. Get your Mac running like new again with Mac Booster 8. Visit macboost.net today.
It's the Pete Sousa Show.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
I am obsessed with helping business owners increase their traffic and turn it into profit through the power of Pinterest marketing. It's this amazing platform where people are looking for ideas, inspiration. They have a problem and they're actively looking for a solution.
Stability.
We just, I was trying to get Drake on, and I just had a conversation with him in the break. He's going on with Ward White on ESPN Central Texas. So he's booked. And so maybe we'll have him on tomorrow. I think we will have him on tomorrow, like later in the show, as this thing cooks up. I want to get his take on this Satake thing. But we'll just have him on later in the show. He's no way. I mean, when you got Gary Danielson, even Drake Toll has to take a back seat. Again, we'll have Gary Danielson from CBS Sports tomorrow in an extremely rare appearance for him to be interviewed on the air, especially in his last season as he comes down the stretch. Speaking of coming down the stretch, a lot of people would have hoped, I do have to save like 9 minutes for this, at least before we go, about Baylor football. So I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys. I was headed back to Waco Saturday, like afternoon. because I had a women's basketball yesterday here at Foster Pavilion, where the Baylor Bears just ran roughshod over Grambling State. It was a funny game because, it's just like it was 20-2, and it's not. I mean, we're not over there like moving mountains, or digging ditches, but that can make for a tough call. And I did it with Jordan Lewis, who's outstanding. So we had some fun with it, but I was driving back for that game on Saturday, and I had whatever football it was, on my phone, out of view, watching CBS. They were doing their studio show. Whatever game I was watching had ended, and they started to give highlights on the Baylor game, which, by the way, I had just I'd kind of removed myself from that. It's been painful, right? For fans, for me, somebody who cares. I want them to win very badly. And, it was the Godfather. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in because the guys on CBS are like, first of all, it's funny to get a national reaction. They're like, man, Dave, whatchamacallit, is talking. The guy who I love, who was the coach at Colorado and Washington. Help me out, Scotty. Blonde hair guy, quarterback at UCLA. Come on, Scotty. He's on every morning on Sirius, the morning ride. That's not an excuse, Scotty. Hold on, I'm gonna get it right now. I'm gonna be so pissed when I see his name. Because Rick Neuheisel. So Rick Neuheisel was like, Dave Aranda came to coach Baylor after he won a national championship as a defensive guru at LSU, but clearly they're having trouble and they can't get it together, and they're going over the Houston highlights. And then Aaron Taylor or somebody was like, "Yeah, it's coming back though," and everybody was like, they were like, "Well, hopefully you can get it right." And they were like, "Baylor's trying to get it right now. They're down by 7 points, and they have a fourth down coming up, and that's the game. They're on the 13-yard line." So I'm like, "Oh, damn! All right, you got me." So I flip it real quick. I get JMO on Sirius, and I get to hear this last fourth down play. And I mean, hearing it on radio was probably more jarring than watching it, because it was just so typical of the way this season has gone. Like your superstar quarterback. I didn't even watch it, so I can't even tell you that I saw what happened. All I know is JMO did his description was enough. Your quarterback drops back to pass. He gets sacked, throws the ball away. It's just like a disaster of a final effort. And then, as much as the game is over, it's actually not, because you got 3 timeouts, and they can't keep him from getting a first down. And it's like, and it was a Connor Wegman, like BS run. Like, first of all, JMO, who's doing his job, buries the lead that these guys get 8 yards on second down or whatever it was. I'm like, I can't believe. So he's like, "Oh, it's 3rd and 2." I'm like, 3rd and 2? You didn't tell us they got 8 yards. Like, I know you didn't want to emphasize how crappy that was, and then 3rd and 2, then they get the first down and it's over. And it was just such a kick in the balls. I'm just like, man. And I truly, for Baylor fans, and I'm not saying you always want to see the team get as much money and publicity, but it was time, dude. Let's just end this. Really, it was we don't have to deal with, because I know Dave means well and he has the best of intentions, but I just think we're all done listening to him at the podium after some of these losses, and I hope that the page is turned and we get really knocked on our ass with some great surprise next year. And I think that's totally possible. I really do. I'm not counting this program out or this coach out, but after the game, or even it felt like during the game, and then you have all these guys who are part of this top 30 recruiting class. They're flipping on you, dude. And Scotty, let's see if we can get your thoughts on this as we end this season. I too feel like we've been kind of, let's just move on, right?
Yeah, it's Cam Carr season now.
Yeah, it is
in
Cam
Waco.
Carr season. It is. But yeah, what were your reaction to the guys flipping? And do you think
Hey, I mean,
is this recruiting class salvageable? I guess that's no. Okay.
No, I'm sorry. When 2 flip and you drop from 27 to, I believe, 54, 56, somewhere in there in the rankings, One more is going to flip. I'm kind of surprised it didn't happen yesterday. It will happen today. Jordan Clay from San Antonio likely to flip to Washington.
Okay.
He was arguably the other guy that could have been the highest ranked in this class, along with Jamarian Carlton. So you're going to lose your top 3 recruits. Your recruiting class is not going to be ranked in the 60s rather than in the 20s. You're done. You're done. And I hate to be a cynic about it, Pete, but they're going to put lipstick on a pig and talk about all these portal kids they're going to go get. And I'm sure there's going to be a couple of really exciting players that come take their shot at Baylor from the portal. But it's really disappointing when first of all, that game, as you so well described, perfectly encapsulated what Baylor has done all season long.
Yeah.
In a losing effort. The only redeeming quality that we've talked about when it comes to Dave Aranda for the past 8 weeks, it's not like this is a Linda Livingstone letter thing, even though she mentioned it, is, man, they're doing something right on that recruiting trail. Turns out, Pete, kids want to play at a school where they have a chance to win. And when you don't even reach bowl eligibility and you retain that head coach, by the way, not reaching bowl eligibility 2 of the last 3 seasons. Not just this year.
Yeah.
I don't blame any kid that wants to go to Texas or Michigan instead. And everyone's coming at me when I've kind of expressed it and said, well, it's about the money. I call BS on that. Texas and Michigan, where Jamarian Carlton and Jamarian Vincent have flipped to, they have always had more money than Baylor.
Yeah, I don't think
it's not like this week suddenly they offered infinitely more money. No. They probably offered them more money 6 months ago.
No, it's strictly a vibe deal.
It is. Right, it's they thought they were signing up for a team with a dynamic, explosive offense and one of the best defensive coaches in America. And what we saw on the field this season was an inconsistent offense, despite pretty tremendous skill talent, and one of the statistically 5 worst defenses in college football.
And you also think, too, for some of these young guys, you look at your guys like Terrell Bernard in the NFL. Who's the other one that we talk about all the time? That's
Jalen Petrie.
Jalen Petrie, like guys who are just playmakers in the NFL and are superstars. Yeah, they came from Baylor. And like you look at the Aranda connection to some of that, and maybe some of that's not even real, but like it still is there and encouraging for these kids, right? But even that's kind of gone. You know what I mean?
Let me say this stat, and I've said this stat on the show before, one more time. Dave Aranda just finished his 6th year coaching at Baylor. Not one high school player he has recruited to Baylor has been drafted into the NFL.
Yeah.
That is horrible. If you're pitching player development, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
For this year.
Horrible. The guys that have been drafted out of Baylor in Dave Aranda's tenure were either recruited by Matt Rule or transfers.
Oh, okay.
And Josh Cameron will likely be the first Baylor player that Dave Aranda brought to Baylor who gets drafted, and he was a walk-on.
Preferred, as Josh.
Doesn't matter. My point is every class you offer 20 some odd you bring in 20 some odd scholarship players to Baylor out of high school, and not one of them has been drafted out of Baylor. That says something about your ability to develop players.
Yeah.
And it's, by the way, the opposite of what Art Briles and Matt Rule did at Baylor. So it's a frustrating time to be a Baylor football fan. And unfortunately, we've got another year of frustration ahead, I think, before some excitement.
I have to agree. And I'm hoping that, we can be surprised. I think, I heard Phil Bennett talking to the 365 guys last week. I know I brought this up to you, but he did say, look, they can turn this around quickly, but Baylor has missed in the portal.
They have
recently. I don't know if they've missed with like character or what, but clearly there's an issue.
Both
right?
Character and talent.
Yeah, you've got to hit. You really can't miss much in the portal. I think the one thing that we could see them do to infuse some hope would be to find somebody, and I don't even know, way better than me what the general manager situation looks like, to find somebody that can really help you mine talent from now up until.
And here's, Pete,
I think you're better off not making a bowl, to be honest.
Without going too far down the rabbit hole. One, Dave Aranda needs to hire a DC. because him calling defenses and being the head coach has now made Baylor bad at defense, and he's a bad head coach. He needs to give up.
Yeah.
Like, we were sold that was going to be an improvement, and Baylor just had its worst defense in his tenure.
Yeah.
So he needs to hire a DC.
And he coaches the linebacker.
I would actually,
doesn't he?
Yeah, I would jump up and down if he hired Phil Bennett, but that won't happen.
You would.
I would jump up and down.
But yeah, he coaches the linebackers.
Yeah.
That's a lot, dude.
You can't do that if you're the head coach.
No, I mean, Alex Mortensen told me 2 weeks ago, like, I feel like I'm not doing any of those things well.
You can't do that if
head
you're the
coach,
head coach.
quarterback, or
It's
OC.
too much.
Yeah.
And B, and this is where I don't want to go too far down the rabbit trail. Part of why I'm so mad that they announced 2 weeks ago they're retaining Dave Aranda, and I've said this, I think, on your show too. I've definitely said it on my show. There are multiple, I know names that I won't share, multiple former Baylor football players, all Americans, we'll just put it that, multiple, who have reached out directly to the Board of Regents or to Dr. Livingstone and said, let me help. They've offered to GM. They've offered to take fundraising roles. One of them I know specifically asked if he could interview to be AD, and I don't think that's going to happen because he has no experience being an AD. But multiple, it wasn't RG3 actually. RG3 has reached out, but that's not the point. Multiple high-profile, all-American level star players from Baylor want to invest and reinvigorate this program because of what happened this season. And so the fact that you were willing to make no move at head coach, and it appears as if you're going to make no move at GM, and I think Aaron Hunt's a good GM, by the way. I don't think Aaron Hunt's the issue here. But if you don't bring any of those guys into the building as a voice, as a consultant, as a GM, as a, fundraiser, you're really missing the mark. Because if there's one thing that Baylor fans are starving for right now, it's a return to those guys, right? Whether it's the emotions from seeing Art Briles getting a head coaching gig last week, emotions from Bryce Petty being back on campus and very involved at the beginning of the season, RG3 interviewing Sawyer Robertson a couple weeks ago on his podcast, Terrence Ganaway and I talking about Baylor football every week. Chris Platt was honored at the game this past Saturday. He's very active on Twitter. There's a lot of man, you remember when we had All-Americans every season and we were winning 10 games a year? You bring those guys into the fold. I think in this era, NIL, influence, social media, you need to raise money to keep this thing up. I don't know what we're doing if we're not involving those guys and listening to what they think.
Here's the scariest part for Baylor football right now. And I hate saying this, but I try to stay open-minded on both sides. This may not be bottom yet.
I know.
That's the scariest part.
And by the way, Baylor fans have seen bottom. It's called 1996 to 2006.
Yeah.
And it was bad, dude. It was ugly. And I don't think any of us want to go there again. But this is, the first, I believe it's the first year since it would be the first year since 2009 or 8 that we failed to make a bowl game in 2 out of 3 years.
Come on in, Mike.
2009 was the last time we missed a bowl prior to 2023.
Okay.
It's 2017 when we had the one win, right? But the 2 out of 3 bowl games, missing them should be staggering and shocking. But B, this is the first group of Baylor kids who are graduating since 2010 season that did not get to see, or since the 2011 season, that did not see a 10-win year at Baylor.
Well, and that's important because you're saying student body too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of screws up the legacy.
Current students, and I'm very good friends with Jackson Posey, who's the sports editor at the Lariat. They can't wrap their brains around the fact that a lot of us saw multiple 10-win seasons in our time at Baylor. That was very much just not a possibility, but the thing.
Yeah.
And that's the state of the program, man. That's where we're at. So
all right. And more on this conversation, I can imagine today with Matt Mosley.
Absolutely.
And Scotty Swingler, where Mosley is Mosley's, by the way, red hot right now. When you think about all the things going on in Mosley world, first of all, he was talking after Jerry Jones and the Cowboys won on Thanksgiving. One of my favorite Mosley moments. And there's actually video of this. They began, the pack of media around Jerry Jones post-game they start, and you see Mosley's behind Jerry doing his thing where he transcribes and he looks at the ceiling. Initially, he has no sunglasses on, right? 20 seconds later, he calls the audible and puts the sunglasses on indoors. I don't know if now, quite possibly, it was a utilitarian type deal because maybe there was blinding light from some of the cameras that were pointing in Jerry's direction, ultimately of Matt's. But I was very interested to see the quick change. Do you have pictures?
You want some breaking news?
Yeah.
11 minutes ago. Sorry, I'm totally changing the subject.
Well,
but we mentioned it on the show. UCLA is expected to hire JMU head coach Bob Chesney.
Wow.
For Pete Nakos.
Huh.
So there you go. I was just saying, Bob Chesney at JMU, he's still there. Well,
yeah, he's like a Philly guy.
UCLA.
Like
UCLA.
My friend Patrice, her husband played football at I think Dickinson or wherever this dude Chesney went to college. And I know those guys. He's a small college guy, football player who has kicked ass at JMU, and now, boy, that is a mountain to climb at UCLA. So you wish him good luck. Wow. Okay. Good. We end with that, right? I mean, that's a huge story. Nice job by Scotty Swingler and Pete Nakos from On 3. Yeah, Mosley, though, check him out today. Glasses, no glasses. Don't get married to either situation because we know now at any time you can switch. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with Gary Danielson and maybe a late visit from Drake Toll. Okay? The Pete Sousa Show is presented by Slovakics. Have a great day.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Show. Sports.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.